Hello, I am Mel, and welcome to today's episode of SoulFull Conversations. What I really love about these are real clients and their real Reiki stories. If you are new, welcome. We're so happy that you are here. And if you are a regular, it's good to have you back. If you're not already, please subscribe, hit that like button, and leave in the comments below what you are enjoying about these SoulFull Conversations. For today's episode, I have the lovely Alexis.
Hello.
And she has been coming for, a year and a half or so now?
Yep, about a year and a half.
Tell me a little bit, and everybody watching, about your first Reiki session, because you had never heard about Reiki.
At all.
Okay.
It was probably like a word that had been thrown around, but I had no idea what it was. So it was maybe like a few weeks before my birthday, I want to say maybe a month before, where I saw a friend of mine who came to do Reiki with you. She posted a picture of your studio, and she said something about, just had a great session doing Reiki, and the girl that posted this, I would have never thought for her to have been kind of in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
Because when I looked up Reiki, I would have never pictured her as someone that would be into that and, exploring that. So I messaged her and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in, the Reiki post that you put and like, what is it like and what do you like about it? And so she loved it. She recommended it. She recommended you.
Yeah.
And so I remember messaging you right after, and I was very honest. I said, I grew up in a very religious household, and these are not things that I was really allowed to explore. I said, so I'm very hesitant, but I'm also very curious. And I have to say, you, the way that you explained everything and how you were willing to put that information out there without me even like paying you or anything, like the fact that you took your time to do that was really like what sold me on coming in.
Oh, thank you.
No, of course, but you think that a lot of people that are in the spiritual world sometimes, especially if you're new to it, you're hesitant because there's a lot of scams out there as well. But
good point.
Yeah, but you made me feel comfortable. So I remember the day that I came, I was very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I was like, she's gonna like hypnotize me, and like things are gonna come out, and I'm gonna see things, and it's gonna be scary. But I was ready for it. If that's what was gonna happen, I'm like, let's do it. But it was just so calming. It was definitely a lot different than what I thought it was gonna be. Mm-hmm. And it just, I remember thinking the whole time that I just felt such peace in this space, and like I didn't understand energy healing at the time to where how I have an understanding of it now, but it was definitely very palpable when I left that something had happened.
Right.
And I think that made me want to explore more, and it opened up, I tell everybody, and I'm not just saying this because I'm on YouTube and I'm like gassing her up, but I tell everybody that you are like my spiritual teacher, because you kind of gave me that safe space to be able to like know that this wasn't scary stuff.
Right.
And that it was all just like good energy, putting good vibes out into the universe. And I think that for the longest time, I was looking for that without really knowing that that's what I was looking for. So, after that Reiki session, I was like, floodgates open. I want to know everything. Yeah, exactly.
Give me more.
I want all of it.
Yes. And you really, like, you dove in. At the time, I was offering my online monthly memberships where I was giving, every month was different educational topics and things like that. And you dove into that, the full moon. That was great.
I love those.
And there's still some of those on YouTube, by the way. If you haven't seen them, check it out. But what I loved is, within 3 months, like you were just like in it, studying all the time, reading all the time, learning, growing, asking all of these questions. And then you were so in love with Reiki. 6 months after your first Reiki session, you decided to become a Reiki practitioner. So this was already almost a year ago. I cannot believe
it. Right?
That you took your Reiki 1 and 2 training. So do you want to share a little bit about your experience, about the group, what you remembered?
Yeah. So I remember when you first put that out there, I saw it and I was like, oh, maybe one day I'll do that. And I remember you messaged me and you were like, listen, you need to take this class.
Because we talked about it so much.
Exactly.
And I knew that you were so interested. And the other thing is to, when these groups come together, and I know we've talked about it before in other episodes, especially episode 3, we've talked about it, but the synergy and the energies that come together in those trainings, I knew your energy and personality would fit perfectly with that group. And let me tell you this, oh my gosh, I have to tell the owl story now.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking
oh
about
my God,
that.
I just thought about this. Okay, so it was like mid-January when we were doing this training. Of course, go figure, there was an ice storm. And we were up at like 6 o'clock in the morning texting each other, and you're like, Mel, I can't make it. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So funny enough, haha, as the universe would have it, there was a lady that was taking the training as well, and she only lived like 10 minutes from you, and offered as a stranger to come and pick you up. Notice the good energies and synergies already. Comes to pick you up. Within, 30 seconds, you guys became best friends. And then the other funny thing is 2 days prior to that, that lady was in for a Reiki session, and she sent me a picture of an owl. Now, you had already had many signs from your guides and communications from spirit, universe, God, source, whatever, bringing you images of owls. And that afternoon, I sent you that picture, and this was the exact same woman to come and pick you up for this Reiki training.
Right. It's crazy. It was insane.
I was like, okay, we're off to a really good start.
Yeah.
I knew you were supposed to be there.
And you know what's so funny about that is that after me and her connected, which I love because she's older than me, but you would not have thought that in that car ride, the way we were going back and forth, just talking. She told me her whole life story. But after that, you know, she sent me a picture that night of the first Reiki session, and she has an owl in her front yard. And so that was funny because I'm like, that's so crazy that she has an owl outside of her house.
Yes.
But then the other crazy part about that is I've done a few different full moon shamanic circles and drumming.
Oh.
And I've been to 3 different ones, and she was at 2 out of the 3. And when I walked in, we both looked at each other and we're like, of course, we're tied forever in the spiritual world.
And I forgot about that too.
Yeah.
You all have continued to bump into each other. I love it.
Crazy.
Started as strangers, now we'll forever be connected.
I love it.
Reiki does that.
Reiki does that. And it was just such a great experience to be, you know, when you first start getting into this world, I feel like there's still a lot of stigma around it, right? Especially, and I can understand it because, like I said, I grew up in a very religious household, and so we're in the South, you know? There's a lot of religious people down here.
Absolutely.
And they see all that stuff as, like, the devil stuff and all these crazy things. And so when you first start getting into this, you want to talk about all these things that you're learning, and you get so excited about it. And I don't care what people say. You know, I'm going to say whatever I want. If people think I'm weird, I'm a weirdo. But other people aren't like that. They don't want to open up about these kind of things, or, you know, they're scared about what people are going to say. But I remember, you know, being in that room and just feeling all these people think like me, and all these people, like, believe the same things that I believe, and to such a extreme, like, they just feel it, they live it, like, you could see it. And so it was awesome to be in a room with people that are all very like-minded, and they're all there wanting to heal other people. That's the biggest part about it, you know. You don't take Reiki 1 and Reiki 2. I mean, you do use Reiki on yourself, but I feel like the reason why you do it is so that at some point you can help other people. And help them through whatever issues they're going through, whether it's their past, their future, their present. And so to be in a room with so many people that just want to make a difference in this world and want to spread love and help heal was just such an amazing experience. And I don't think I've ever felt that type of energy in anything else that I've done. You feel connectedness and you feel like teamwork, but this was something different. I mean, it was beautiful. And there were so many times where, like, you know, you get emotional, but you're okay getting emotional because there's other people that are there feeling the same exact things. Yeah.
Yep.
So I loved it. Now, I have been slacking on my upkeep, but that's why I got roped in to do this today, because it's a reminder from the universe. Hello, get back on it.
Got to get with it. Yes,
Exactly.
girl, you got to get that Reiki. No,
Yeah.
and before we jump into one more thing, I just want to touch on, you know, you sharing, like, your experience and being, the word that came to me as you were talking was the acceptance and the welcoming that these Reiki trainings and community have created for people, because we do live in such a very social media driven world of, like, I feel like if I don't look this way or think this way or act this way, that I'm not going to be accepted for the uniqueness of what I bring to this world. And that is something else that I love that you touched on, that I feel Reiki really does bring together and supports people in it's a very non-judgmental, loving I accept you for who you are and as you are way. And it's just such a beautiful, again, it brings that comfort, support, and allows us the opportunity to heal where we feel safe. To be able to heal, creating that safe space for everybody.
And the one thing, too, that I loved about that, and it just kind of popped into my head, I think I realized it then, but realizing it now, there were so many different people from all different walks of life. There was all different age ranges. There was men and women at this class. You know what I mean?
Ethnicities.
It's just, it was awesome because it's not like, Reiki people are just one type of person. No, it comes in all shapes, sizes, all types.
Right.
And I love that because it transcends your beliefs, who you are, languages, barriers, all of that. Because everybody at the core of who they are understands, like, we all need to give love and we all want to feel love and feel accepted. So I love that. That was awesome.
No, you were absolutely right on that. Oh, chills. Eat it up. I love it. Okay, so before we wrap up, I know the last time you were here, which was your birthday, so again, that was in August. We're running a little behind on your Reiki schedule, so I'm glad you're here because, we got a Reiki session to get to after this. But the last time you were here, I had been traveling, and it was out of the state, like a ways out of the state, and I was at this cute little farmer's market, and of all things in this little town, they had someone selling crystals, and I'm like, like a moth to a flame, like, crystals. And so I go up to this table and I'm talking with the lady, and I was really drawn to this particular crystal. And I bought myself one, and I knew your birthday was coming up, and I just felt like you needed this. So I will let you take it from here on this story.
So something very personal had happened in my life in my early 20s, and I don't think I had ever really dealt with it or acknowledged it. It was a pretty traumatic experience. And so for my 32nd birthday, which was just in August, that day of my birthday, I wanted to spend it alone, which I've never done that before. I've always wanted to make a big deal about my birthday and wanted my friends around and all that. So I wanted to be by myself, and so I was writing in my journal, which is very important, write in your journals.
Yes.
And I addressed the situation that had happened. And I forgave myself for it, showed myself some grace.
And
compassion. And also, like, just heal that 20-year-old Alexis, that went through that experience. And so within that same journal entry, I put, I need a sign to know that pretty much I've been forgiven and that this is what it is, that I know for a fact that I feel it in my heart. I can move on from this and I can heal and just put that in my past and be more comfortable about it and accept it as part of what happened in my life as well.
It was part of your journey.
It's part of my journey. So I asked for a sign, and I said, I even wrote down, it's so crazy because I can remember writing it down. I said, I don't know what the sign's going to be, but when I see it, I'll know. And then I went back within a few moments, and I said, no, I actually do know the sign. I said, I want the sign to be a bumblebee. I said, and when I see it, I'll know that it's coming from this that I asked for. So I remember I was coming to do Reiki with you. I think it was like the day after my birthday or something like that. But it had been a few days after that. Because that was Saturday and you were still out of town Saturday.
And Saturday is actually when I was shopping.
When you were shopping, exactly. Which is not crazy. So,
and the other thing is, you said in your journal, I know that Mel's going to be the one to give me this message.
So I wrote that journal entry the day that I was coming to see you.
Oh,
so it was separate from that Saturday entry. So I was coming to see you, and I wrote in my journal that morning, and I said, I'm going to go see Mel today, and I said, that sign that I asked for, if it comes from Mel, then I know for sure, like, that you listened and that it's out there. And I don't even know why I wrote that. It was such a last minute thing that I was like, but I'm still going to write it in there.
Because you got here early. I remember this now. You got here early. You sat in the parking lot and you journaled again right before your Reiki session.
I did. Yep.
Okay.
So I come in.
Even my mind is still, I'm like, oh.
I know, it's so crazy. I was like, you couldn't even, it's so insane. So I walk in and you were getting ready and I think you said, oh, hey, I have a card for you for your birthday. And so it was an envelope. So of course, I'm like thinking, oh, when I open this, it's going to have a bumblebee on the card or something like that, right? So I opened the card and there was no bumblebee on the card. And so I'm reading your message. And so inside there is a crystal and it's the shape of a heart. And on the message you said that you had found this crystal and that the crystal was called Bumblebee Jasper, and it was in the shape of a heart, and that you had thought of me. And even talking about it, I tell this story all the time. I get chills because it was, I can't make this up. You can't make it up. And how specific, that's the one thing I think that I've learned the most about, being involved with you and in Reiki and just learning more is when you ask for signs, be so specific so that when they happen, you can't even say that it's coincidence.
Absolutely.
And I think that I ask for signs and they happen, and the more I ask, the more they happen, the more that muscle, I feel like, you work
Absolutely.
it out.
It's that reassurance,
right.
And you're working the muscle. You're right.
Yeah, so that was insane. I tell that story all the time, and I still get chills, and I carry that crystal with me everywhere I go. I know I'm not a purse girl at all, but I ended up getting like a little wristlet, and I keep that crystal in my wristlet all the time. So it was crazy.
Cleanse your crystal.
Cleanse my crystal,
okay.
Yep. So yeah, that was insane. But I did want to mention too, going back to just the acceptance thing and being able to talk about these things. My job, as you know, is very much out in the public.
Right.
And ever since meeting you and learning Reiki, I talk about it all the time, to the point where I've had so many people that were in the same situation as me who were scared to explore things outside of what they were raised to believe, reaching out to me and telling me that because I talk about it and because I'm so open about it on my social media, at my job, that they've also been open to go get Reiki. And I actually didn't even tell you this, but a few weeks ago, I met a listener of the show who came up to me and she said that she had her first Reiki session.
Good.
And she went because she had heard about it through the show. And actually, it didn't even meet her in person. It was through social media. She sent me a message. She lives in Alabama. So she doesn't even live here.
Yeah.
She lives in Alabama, and she was like, it was a game changer. She was like, I can't put it into words exactly what it is that I'm feeling. You don't even have to tell me, I know. But I love that, because like I said, you do talk about certain things. People are listening. And you never know who you can help just by mentioning it.
Absolutely.
Because I didn't ever talk to this girl prior to that.
Wow.
She went out of her way to message me and tell me after the fact she had already done Reiki.
Yeah.
So you just never know.
Well, and that's what, thank you for sharing that too. And I'm so excited that girl took her leap of faith and was like, all right, I'm going to give it a whirl and let's see what happens. And it is. And, after certain sessions, and really a lot of times, it's hard to put into words exactly what happens, but the feeling that you get, the warmth, the tinkles, the love, and Reiki is just pure love and light, and that's why, it is non-denominational. You talked about being in the South and things like that, and, I work with a lot of people that have kind of that religious trauma, that stigma that it was taboo, and really helping educate people of what Reiki truly is. Right. You don't have to believe in God or Buddha or the universe. It's really for everybody. And Asui created it for that reason. It instilled in him. He got it. We won't go into the whole history lesson. You learned that in your Reiki training.
Which I do love that you do teach that, though, because you see the origin of where this came from, and it all comes from a place of love.
Right.
No matter who practices it.
Right. Yeah. Which is what we are. That's who we are to our core. Oh, this was so fun. Thanks for taking the time to share this with me, because I did get some new info from you, and to share with everybody watching. Thank you again so much for joining me for this episode 5 of Soulful Conversations. If you are really loving these, which I hope that you are having the most amazing time with these, just as I am, and now Alexis did too, leave in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will catch you on the next episode. Have an amazing day.